So facts that support this motion. This term of council, we have cut the council and committee meetings schedule in half, yet we have seen 7 new advisory committees, boards, or council be created. We've doubled the amount of committees there are since the last election. Many residents are members of these committees, and they bring important experience and ideas to the town. This motion is not speaking against any of the town's advisory committees. However, I do believe valuable discussion and decisions and recommendations to council are now being made out of the public eye. This has created barriers to accessibility that are just not acceptable given the technology available and the level of engagement of Wasaga Beach residents. Committee of the Whole and coordinated committees have been live broadcast and available on YouTube since January 2018. They have been viewed between 35 and 715 times each, for an average of 250 times per meeting. People are interested, they're engaged, they're watching our meetings online. Our community cares. They're taking time out of their busy lives to watch and listen to what we, their elected members of council, are saying and doing, and I believe we have an obligation to share all decision-making activities and not just a few. Councils are elected to represent their entire community, and all residents have a right to be able to hear and understand the decisions being made by their elected officials. 24/7 access to meetings reduces physical and time-restrictive barriers, and it provides an accurate account of discussion and decisions. In order to support and build trust within our community, I believe our town council must take a leadership role and demonstrate we are open, transparent, and accessible to all. A recording would provide a clear, comprehensive, and accessible meeting record. In fact, it's a recommendation by the Ombudsman that councils do this. I believe a vote to defeat this motion tonight is a very public statement against transparency. Thank you.
Any other?
Yes, I won't support this motion, but not because of transparency. I believe transparency is very important. I believe this council has been very transparent in our activities.
Order, please. Order, please.
My concern is the vast majority of our committees are made up of volunteers. They volunteer their time. In most of those committees, they are advisory and make recommendations to council. To the greatest extent, there are no significant financial decisions. They all come to council. And I can tell you that as an appointed or an elected official, and I believe in Councillor Bray's comment, she indicated elected, and it is not an election for these standing committees. They are appointed individuals. But they, as an appointed or elected official, we sign up for the scrutiny and, frankly, some of the abuse that comes from certain elements of our community. But for our volunteers, if they were subject to that same scrutiny and those same mean-spirited comments that sometimes occur, I think pretty soon we would be hard-pressed to find the volunteers to fill these committees that do such important work. Can you imagine? I believe we have like 12 standing committees, the vast majority of volunteers that work countless hours to help forward our town. And if we got to the point where now, because of comments or criticisms, they were not willing to sign up, maybe in some towns there's a more collaborative effort and there's more support for those people that stand up and volunteer. Right now, we have a situation that I believe we would be subjecting some of these individuals to, frankly, some scrutiny that would have many of them either resign or not volunteer in future.
Any other comments?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Could you, to the CAO, could you tell me, these standing committees, do the decisions and their minutes and everything come before council anyways for us to have final approval? Is that not correct?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Yes, Councillor, they do. They typically go to one of the coordinated committees or committee of the whole and then end up at council. So they go from the advisory committee to one of the standing committees or committee of the whole and then to council.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Dio. I would just like to agree with Councillor Belanger. I think that we would be putting our volunteers in a vulnerable position on these committees. I know that I sit on about 5 of them, and I'd like to say that the volunteers, as far as I'm concerned, do a wonderful job. They put a lot of effort into these committees, and they also, at the same time, bring a lot of knowledge that is very helpful at times. So I would disagree with this. Thank you.
Councillor Smith?
Thank you. Yes, just a couple of comments. First, I'm torn between whether I like this or not, but if we pass this tonight, it looks like it's going to be from now on, which I find very disturbing considering we're coming to the end of our term. And I think that this should be held over for the new council to discuss.
Councillor Bray? Any other?
Thank you. This is something I've brought up every year for the last 3 years. I think we're slowly getting there. We do record our coordinated committee. We do record our committee of the whole. So I think that there was a recognition. There is a need to do this in 2018. It isn't realistic to expect our residents to show up at meetings at 10 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Some work, some have other commitments, but they still have a right to know how decisions are being made with their tax dollars. To address just to be clear, I think our volunteers do a great job. We certainly need them, but our clerk will certainly confirm that our minutes now record decisions. They don't record discussion, and a good example for this would be our Beachfront Management Board. They have an obligation to report to council once every 3 months. Decisions they make in June, I as a councillor will not hear about till September or October. So the entire summer season is gone, and I don't know if any of those tenants down there have paid their rent or they haven't. I don't know if we have a concert, that made sense or didn't. Those decisions are being made at that committee level, and the reporting does not give me a level of confidence as a councillor that unless I sit in the meeting, and then if they decide to go in camera, I'm excluded. I'm not even invited to hear the discussion. That I can't represent the residents that elected me. So I'd really like to see this motion move forward because I do believe it's about transparency, accessibility, and community inclusion. Not just me, but every one of the 20,000 people that live in Wasaga Beach.
Mr. CAO?
Thank you, Madam Acting Mayor. I've heard the debate, and I've heard 2 members of this council say that they'll be voting against. And I will save the municipality a lot of time and a lot of money by just voting against it as well and killing it.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. We'll call for the vote. Councillor Belanger?
Order, please.
Opposed?
Councillor Bray?
In favor?
Councillor Ego?
Opposed.
Councillor Smith?
Opposed?
Councillor Stockwell?
Opposed.
Deputy Mayor Byfolchi?
In favor.
The vote is 2 in favor and 4 opposed. The motion is defeated.